Hey everyone, so if you follow my work on social media, you will see that I recently discovered color, and I decided to dive into color using markers. I know what you're thinking. Markers.
Kind of downgrading yourself a little bit. Hey, they were out of paint or something like that. Crayola? Like, what are we doing?
Well, these markers were developed for artists, in particular manga artists, which I am not. However, I needed to practice color, and I figured there was no better way to do it than to start with something I grew up using, a marker. I've been using them for a week. There's a lot of things that I picked up on near the end of my week. I am using Caliart markers. They are not Copic markers, though they are alcohol markers. This pack comes with 40 colors, wide range of colors, and they're pretty cheap compared to markers. One Copic marker is about $6. You can replace the nibs on the markers. They have a lot more colors, but this pack of 40 was only $16. $16. So with these markers, you have two sides. You have a broad tip and you have a fine tip. This is not a brush nib, so it does draw very differently than a brush nib. I wanted to show some of the work that I was able to do and then some of the tricks that I learned near the end. Really would have helped if I had known some of the tricks in the beginning, but you can't know everything. You have to try and get things wrong and really mess up to get things right sometimes. So now let's go back to our second grade roots and mess with some markers. So first things first, paper. I have 3 pads here: sketch paper, marker paper, and mixed media paper. Immediately, this is why you do not use sketch paper. I am hardly marking on this paper, but as you can see, it bled all the way through. So for now, just ditch that sketch pad. I still put a sheet underneath the piece that I'm working on just in case it bleeds. However, it is extremely resistant to bleed through. See, no bleed. And if there was, that additional sheet of paper would have protected my work. Now, this tip seems kind of obvious, but I had to try it anyways. In order to get a smooth transition, you have to have like colors. As you can see, this green and this yellow, they are not mixing very well. They tried. This is an example of a better blend. I took 2 colors that were similar, and I just kept going over each color with both markers until it was seamless. With this trick, I took 2 markers in the same family, kind of gray, and I was able to create details in the darker marker while it was still wet using the lighter one, and it would show through and lighten up whatever I wanted it to. If you were curious how these markers respond to pencil, here's a what not to do trick. Do not draw your image and then take your marker and streak over it, because that pencil will smudge. On top of that, your marker will now have pencil on it. To get rid of the pencil or the ink or whatever's on there, you just kind of wipe it off. You know, use the marker a few times and it'll come right off. Now here is an example of what you can do. So you can draw your image, whatever you're trying to draw. However, you then take your eraser, in this case a kneaded eraser, and you pull up all the graphite that will cause it to smudge. Because now, when you take your marker and go across it, there's little, if any, smudge. A quick tip on making a better blend is to take the broad tip and then to go over it several times rather than just connecting each stroke. So another thing I learned is that you can actually go over the marker with colored pencil, when it's dry, of course. I know, who would have thought? But this will allow you to get whatever details you're really trying to get that the fine point cannot deliver. This discovery was pretty handy. When the marker is dry, you can still go in and make details using a lighter colored marker. Lastly, and let me tell you, probably the most important, always put a scratch sheet of paper under the piece you're working on. It is bleed resistant, not bleed proof. In short, I really do love these things, and I think it was a great introduction to color. You can see some of the images I created using these techniques that I learned along the way. Now you can learn from my mistakes without having to go through it yourself. I need your help to grow, so let me know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.